Alright, we're back and we got some action in play. Well, we got 3-bet from the blinds with ace king off on the left, and I decided to 3-bet out of the blinds with ace 2 suited on the top right. Ace king, no reads, 6 max, 100 big blinds, easy 4-bet any position against most players, especially in squeeze position like on table 3 down there. And here we can either come along with ace-2 suited in the blinds, unless Lockheed shows the propensity to squeeze often. I'm going to lead out here. I love to lead out with these, hands that totally miss, but potentially miss the pre-flop raiser I can bluff with. I've got some equity with the ace or a 3. If I get called by an overpair, I can take the pot down. Ace-deuce I can also squeeze with myself rather than call in those positions, and it's kind of loose. I mean, when we get a huge raise like that, we're up against like 2-pair at the worst, 5-6 at the worst, maybe even 4-5. This opponent is an overplayer. Generally speaking, if I have 2-pair there, I kind of, against the looser players, I might raise to protect, but I can also call and wait to see a blank card to put the money in on a blank turn, or even play a little bit more cautiously if I think that they might have. So on those boards, you have to be worried about sets and straights also. A weak 2-pair, especially like 4-5 or 4-6, is it's not gonna be the greatest. As we see right now, we're just we're getting into some 3-bet wars, but most of these hands are the types of hands which I want to be 3-betting rather than calling. Deuces will call on the button because position's great. We can bluff with deuces even if we miss, and we see the opportunity to take the pot away from a UTG raiser. Jack king, 2 overcards. I generally will bet this turn if I get called again to try and move somebody off a pocket pair, small pocket pair. As you guys can see, those of you who have and usually I look for boards that are like something like the board that we had on table 2 earlier, like 4-5-6 two-tone with pocket 2s to bluff raise or even float, rather than Jack Jack Queen. So I can just, it's harder for my opponent to play hands when there are many possible hands that could beat him, rather than just a slim range of hands. And especially the looser I am, the more often I'm bluffing, and he knows that. I mean, most thinking players know that who have seen me or played with me in any of these tables. Not that these guys have yet. I haven't played much with the 30-20, but you really can never can know. So you have to assume if you're playing loose in general, most players are going to be playing you like you're loose. Or they will very soon. Here with Jack King against 2 players on a board like this, I'm just going to muck, not bother c-betting. So as you see, we've moved down in stakes since the previous video in an effort to keep my bankroll alive. Playing 2 tables of 51 on the top, 2 tables of 25 cent, 50 cent, and as long as I can keep my bankroll around this level, this is what I'll be playing. I'll try and be getting reps. I'll also be playing 10 cent, 25 cent as needed to fill tables whenever I'm playing, whether I'm recording the sessions or playing on my own. Though I'm never ever assisted by how awesome video games are. You guys know, I've been watching this, I talk a lot about all the video games that I love playing, and of course a new one has entered my vocabulary, my palate. This one lies in probably my overall favorite genre. It's on one of the best portable systems, which I upgraded. I had the Nintendo DS, played a lot of sweet games for it. It's an awesome portable, but they came out with the 3DS and started coming out with some good games for it. That the 3D is kind of gimmicky. I mean, there's some cool effects that you can get with the 3D that this game I'm about to talk about takes advantage of, but just the newer games are coming out for that technology, so had to upgrade. Obviously, Hanukkah present. What? The game I've been playing, I just started playing, is a game called Fire Emblem Awakening Strategy RPG. So it combines the best of like Japanese anime-inspired RPGs with strategy, kind of like a game of chess and poker. And what's this game? I don't know if any of you listening are familiar with strategy RPGs. It's turn-based strategy, so it's not like real-time strategy like StarCraft, where both sides are moving in real time. The player goes, maneuvers his pieces, his units, and then the enemy goes and maneuvers his units. There's a lot of complexity and strategy in this. There's lots of different types of units, and pretty engaging story. The characters are really well developed, but what makes this game really sweet and makes this series, like it's a Japanese famous Nintendo series, what makes it so unique and so awesome is that they've got this feature called permadeath, meaning anytime your unit dies, aside from the main character in a battle, they're gone forever. They're removed from the story. You cannot revive them. They're just totally done. And so what's awesome and freakish about that is that every battle you have this tremendous feeling of like nervousness and sort of like I guess what you feel in poker when you're worried about losing the money. You spend all this time like leveling up your badass great knight, and you just got changed classes, and now you can do all sorts of other stuff. But then bam, he gets like one hit killed by some sneaky ass unit who sneaks up behind you that you carefully plotted every other move, but you didn't see that one, and he's done. He's done forever. So you can choose to like be cheap and restart, or go on with the game and soldier the loss. And so I'm enjoying that so far, which is really cutting into my ability to play poker, because I'm also addicted to this Netflix show, Dual Jacks. Sets everywhere. I'll actually call jacks here rather than 3-bet the UTG. Opener seems pretty tight. I'll kind of underplay my hand pre-flop and maybe play it a little bit stronger post-flop. Maybe I should have potted the set there. Didn't make a difference. I'm addicted to that new Netflix show, House of Cards. I'm like 6 episodes in. Kevin Spacey's in it. It's pretty addicting. He has a nifty southern accent. I'm going to peel one right there because it's kind of cheap. Alright, so we have a limp and a button raise. I'm going to 3-bet deuces. I'm going to fold my jacks now. I probably could have folded the flop against UTG raise, but might as well keep him honest for $2. On the off chance I'm wrong that he's like not as tight as his stats dictate, because his stats are not, it's only 25 hands, so that's very reasonable idea. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, then he'll just check and we can check it down and I can win against his like sevens. Yeah, Kevin Spacey's really good in House of Cards. It's just like David Fincher directed a couple of episodes. He's an executive producer. He lends it that like girl with the dragon tattoo kind of like I don't know, it's kind of got like a cerebral kind of political thriller feel to it, even though it's not really a thriller. It's more of a drama, but David Fincher, kind of the way he's definitely, his aesthetic is transplanted a bit on it. And Rooney Mara, who played the hot chick in the American version of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, her sister plays one of the main characters who's also a hot chick. So that always helps, especially when the cinematography makes actresses look really good. So they released all 13 episodes at once, which is like this new model that they're testing out in advance of Arrested Development, which they're also releasing the entire new season at once. I suppose it's like it's also the first series that Netflix fully financed, so it's kind of interesting. It'll be interesting to see, just as a TV aficionado, where those things goes. This guy loves to 3-bet from the blinds. That's my note on him. So I'm gonna 4-bet bluff in this position with an ace and deal with the consequences. Worth a shot. No skin off my back. I like 4-betting there rather than calling because I don't really know much about how to play against him post flop yet, and I'd rather, generally speaking, be in there post flop calling in position with more of a unified strategy, hands that are a bit stronger, where I don't have to worry if I hit an ace about being way ahead and way behind. Way ahead or way behind. I don't know like how often he'll bluff in 3-bet pots when I call him position, given that he likes to 3-bet from the blinds. I mean, my note on him is like let's check it out. Doesn't have. Oh, you know what? The note on him may not be. I may be thinking of another player who has a similar screen name. Oh, this guy's like a 28. So maybe I shouldn't have 4-bet him. I should have looked a little bit closer at his screen name. I was thinking of some other guy who starts with a D who I also have a note on and has like a similarly long screen name in terms of the number of like consonants in it and vowel position. So I get the insta call on the flop from the loose passive. And on the turn, this is like a super easy fold. We can look at stats to maybe confirm that. So fold to c-bet, he folds pretty often. Looks like he's calling and then he's raising the rest of the time. So to call and then check raise the turn is the first time he's done that. I mean, I'm looking at a 2-pair straight, most likely. Possibly even better. No, you can't have it better than a straight on that board. You just can't. What's frustrating is I think like last session I top up table maximum. There we go. I turned that off last session. I was wondering how to turn it back on, but now it's back on. So we will get topped up and be ready to rock. So what is it? We're looking at mid-February, late February by this point. It's going to be the beginning of March. I want to know, for those of you who set goals for the beginning of this year, or at least thought somewhat about where you want it to be by the end of the year, by the World Series, wherever your landmark is, if you have them, how have you been progressing? Like, how do you feel let's do some evaluation, some self-evaluation. How do you feel things have been going? For me, let's talk about it on the thread. Tell me. Dish. For me, I'm feeling pretty good. Like I would have liked to be playing a little bit more in terms of volume outside of the videos. I mean, I played a few sessions here and there in between all the videos I've been doing. The videos themselves have been we're gonna set mine in this weird spot. So get the min re-raise on the button from the tight strange player, and then got the other guy coming in. Playing it, but in terms of like getting back up to speed on the game and feeling like I can engage again in an online poker 6 max play, and contribute something to the conversation, and just keeping my ability sharp and regaining some of my confidence at the tables. I'm feeling pretty good about where I was on January 1, which was not playing as much, and I think I like just busted my account again playing PLO right before that. So given my financial results, which I will have to admit I was up a little bit. I was up like 4 buy-ins at 25 cent, 50 cent before I went on the 10 cent, 25 cent. So it's up like somewhere between 2 to 4 buy-ins total, really, in terms of my NL6 max play. But then I ran hot at 1-2, so here I am. I've like more than doubled my bankroll, and but in terms of play and in terms of the goals, that for those of you who watched when I did that video, in terms of my Jared Tendler's process model, breathing, taking time, focusing on my bet sizing, I think I'm progressing. So while I've certainly got that's a little bit small in terms of re-raise here. The difference between calling 3-betting ace-9 suited and calling ace-deuce suited earlier is, and here I usually will c-bet against tight players rather than check. So I want to just take down the pot if I'm ahead. And I believe I can just muck, but we'll check stats just in case it tells me something differently. Nothing. Doesn't tell me anything about 3-bet pots. I've certainly got a long. I don't remember if I finished the thought of. I have 2 conflicting thoughts in my head. One is I've got a long way to go, and there's a lot to work on still throughout the rest of the year, which is great. I'd feel terrible if that wasn't the case, and I felt like I was back or better than I ever was. It's pretty impossible. But at the same time, what I was talking about with the ace-9, the difference between calling ace-2 suited earlier and 3-betting ace-9 suited is that there was a caller already in the pot with ace-2 suited, and with ace-9 I one raiser and I'm in the small blind. Check raise, no reads, no reason to stick around. I think people often get frustrated when they get check raised a lot, but you just have to treat every single situation, unless there's a specific dynamic at play at the table where you're playing really loose or your opponent is really loose. You need to, or you and him have this sort of crazy, and when I say crazy, I mean really crazy battle. You kind of just treat every situation like it's its own thing, and irrespective of the fact that you're just getting beat up, you're losing lots of pots, you're getting 3-bet, you're getting check raise like multiple hands in a row, just like evaluate each decision as they come one at a time, and try not to get too tilted by the just try not to get too tilted by the circumstances and that you happen to be in at the moment, because otherwise you're just gonna make bad mistakes that you really just you guys are too good to be making those mistakes. You guys are too good to tilt. Well, everyone tilts, but you can beat it. Take it from me, somebody who has been at points, and I still tilt, but I have been at points at terrible tilter. I've had really bad emotional control early in my career, and I managed to work on it and get it under control to the point where I now feel like my mental game is one of my assets, and both live and online. And so, learn from my own pain and experience, and hopefully you guys can tilt less and make less tilty decisions, make clearer decisions, make decisions to the best of your ability, the decisions that your best self is capable of every single session that you're playing. By the way, like, I've sold a lot of stuff in my apartment because I'm moving, and I've got this amazing setup right now that I'm like absolutely loving. That was actually better for playing poker than my previous desk chair setup. I've got this like bench from Bow Concept that I'm selling, but I kind of want to figure out a way to keep it now because it's so awesome. And I've got my laptop set up on the bench. I'm sitting on my couch, which I sold unfortunately, and I've got a trackball, and I've got my monitor up on the bench too. And interesting that this guy is so tight and calling there. I'm gonna three barrel this situation and try to move him off an ace if he has an ace, and obviously move him off a queen or worse than a queen. Or sorry, not a queen. Yeah, a queen or worse than a queen on the turn. My monitor's up on this bench. It's just like the monitor's like right in front of me. I'm sitting. It's eye level. My posture's good, even though I'm on a couch. I'm having a great time. Negotiating with, by the way, so my brother was like, he and I are moving together, so I'm taking care of a lot of the logistics of the move. He's taking care of a lot of the logistics of the selling of our stuff. And so, uh, while I was in Chile, you know, he's a negotiating fish. He has no idea how to negotiate with these people, and so he probably lost us like a couple $100 in negotiations where people like backed him down and got him to cave on pricing, and sold a bunch of stuff that I just would not have been such a fish about. And so now that I'm back, I'm taking more active role in the Craigslist negotiations, negotiating with these random people that you meet on Craigslist, and I am loving it because uh, just it's just great. It's like you're playing poker with people. I mean, I've negotiated many different things in business and obviously in poker in terms of deals, staking, tournament deals, everything really. And just like trying to understand the psychology of like these people who want to buy the strange like musical instruments that we're selling, uh, and have all these like weird requests about uh, like the cleanliness is just, oh, I see the 9 and it matches my cards and I'm thinking straight flush, and now all I have is a bluff. Jack of diamonds on the turn would be solid. So let's look at this guy's stats and see if we can make a move here. Yep. We are going to make him. Ah! Wow, that's really tilting. I really don't like how little time you have on this site. I'm not used to it. I feel like it's less time. Does anyone who play, I feel like it's less time than on Full Tilt or Poker Stars, in inordinately small amount of time. Maybe you have a big time bank to make up for it, and I just haven't been taking, I know I haven't been taking advantage of the time bank at all. But do you guys feel like, who play on this site, feel like you don't have a lot of time in making decisions? Because I do, and I don't like it one bit, and I would have bluffed there because looking at this dude's stats, he doesn't like to fold his c-bet very often. He just raises c-bets half the time. He folds to them a third of the time. So on a board like 9 deuce 3, while it is kind of strange to raise, if you think about it, I can really only continue there with a piece of that flop, so it's a good spot to bluff. And given his statistics, I think that's a pretty good situation to like click it back. I mean, I think would have clicked it back. I would have probably liked to raise 40, but my keyboard is out of arm's distance at the moment. And turning a set on the bottom right, and you could also call, but the thing about calling is you just never know if you're going to face a turn bet. And if it goes check check, yeah, you can bluff the river, but what if he hits a pair on the turn of the river? If you click it back, you can take that out of the equation. And if, of course, if in that situation I actually had a strong hand, I would call and check the turn and let him bury himself, hopefully fire another bet. I will say, out of all these screen names at all these tables, firstly, since I've been playing online poker, since the beginning of online poker, there's always been some Johnny something. There's a Johnny Panic here. There's like a Johnny Be Good, Johnny Cage, Johnny Cash, Johnny D's Nuts, Johnny Bill Frist, etc., etc. There's always a Johnny. I think we're in the era of the end of originality in screen names. Like, the best screen name besides mine, obviously, and any of these tables is the White Squirrel. By far, the White Squirrel. The White Squirrel is the man. The White Squirrel, honestly, that's a great name for a movie. Immediately, I think it's got to be a movie starring like either Will Ferrell or Ben Stiller. And here we'll raise on Queen 3 because often raising is the best way to make your hand look weak. Because if he's got a hand with showdown value, the best hand I can have here is trips. Well, wow. Obviously, we're going to call the turn. We're not folding, even though we're. So I'm definitely worried that I'm looking at a full house or better trips. But can I make the fold? This one's real tough. Can his stats tell us anything? Let's make sure the time bank is clicked. Alright, time bank is clicked. Let's fold here. We've got 25 seconds to figure this out. Alright, let's look at his stats. He check raises 2 out of 5 times, which is above average. I mean, he c-bets, calls c-bets a lot. He's not folding to c-bets often. Oh, this is like, I don't know. This is really tough. I'm going to muck. Somebody want a bad beat jackpot on that table? I mean, I don't, as you guys can see if you've been watching me play with any regularity, I make big folds. And I'm not afraid to make big folds. I always question whether or not I'm ahead or behind. Sometimes I may make incorrect big folds, but usually I won't. I won't make them when I'm getting good odds, or I've got suspicions that my opponent is crazy, which I did have from Vegas Scott. But at the same time, he has to be afraid. I've got a queen. Would he play a worse queen like this? Well, he probably wouldn't, because he'd have to worry that I have a better queen. So would he play like queen 9, queen 8, or queen 10 that way? I don't really think so. Would he overplay aces? I also don't think so, because most people who have aces are afraid of everything else, or afraid of the true queen. So what am I looking at? I'm looking at, like, I could have had queen jack, but you can also have queen king, queen ace, or full houses. And my pot odds were not amazing. Pot size bet. So here I get check raise on the flop, and he bets the turn, and I've got the gut shot and the flush draw. So the question becomes, can I shove the turn and move him off like a set, or maybe he might call with another flush draw and move him off his bluff? Yes, I can. There's a chance he calls me there with the ace high flush draw. There's also a chance he calls me there with the jack high flush draw. There's also the chance that he folds. Like, maybe he weirdly played like pocket tens, or there's also a chance that he bet folds 2-pair. Or if I calls, he jams his 2-pair on the river. He could bet fold a set. Maybe, maybe not. Tough spots indeed. The White Squirrel would be a movie in which Will Ferrell or Ben Stiller plays the titular White Squirrel, and it's a movie that takes place in the Squirrel Kingdom, but it's not CGI. It's all human actors dressed in squirrel costumes, and it's basically, uh, it's either sort of like a Kung Fu Panda like action comedy about this white squirrel who's born white and he's outcast, but he has this great destiny, and he's gonna save the world from a great pigeon threat, or or it's like kind of like Elf, in which he's born to like a non-squirrel family, maybe even a human family, and then he slowly learns about his heritage as the prince of the squirrels, and must find his father. Maybe his father is a squirrel. Maybe he's not born to a human family. He's born to the gray squirrels, but something's not right. He wants to seek out his real father, who is a is potentially a white squirrel, or was the last of the white squirrels. But um, yeah, and the we'll bluff raise this one with the two overcards in position. The other main character, or as we like to call it in Story World, the impact character, is the other lead. Can be like a old and wise but fat pigeon grandmother, and through like a curious, I made that check too quickly on table one. Through a uh, curious tragedy, they meet each other and become intertwined, and the fat pigeon grandmother is played by also not CG, Renee Zellweger. I don't know if she's still fat, but she'll get fat for this role. Aces, aces, aces. We'll go for the overbet here and try to get it all, because we're greedy. Too greedy? Should have maybe just bet 2/3 pot again, or 3/4 pot. Well, if it worked, we don't second guess ourselves, so hard to say. Seems like pretty loose passive. What do you cats think about the bet size there? We'll open ace 10 off on the bottom left. Tempted to pop this, but with Lud 22, I really don't want to get shoved on. And it's interesting. Can I get them both to fold? Let's go for it. Flood jams, we'll call it off. And we'll maybe bluff the river if I don't get it. And so we have to bluff the river to make him fold any pair. Or a flush draw. Fortunately, that may have been a half-baked play there, because he was getting a good price on his money. Maybe I should have bet smaller on the turn. Probably should have checked the turn, is what I really should have done. So now I get min 3-bet and flop top pair out of position, which is just like an atrocious spot to be in, because this guy has a 3-bet of 2 over 121 hands, and he's really loose and passive. So if I continue to see, I'll value bet it and hope that he calls, remembering the last hand. If he bets that turn, almost have to fold because of how loose and passive he is, and the fact that he's suddenly getting like aggro with a min re-raise pre-flop after winning a pot. Yes, the theme for the series is I make a lot of big folds. I think a lot of them are right, but I make a lot of big folds. Table 1, we're gonna float with the backdoor flush draw on the nut shot. We'll isolate on table 2 with king queen. Try and get Jackie Treehorn out of the picture. We'll go another orbit or two in this video. Couple interesting spots, that 9-10 hand and the queen jack fold earlier. Absolutely worth discussing. With 9-10, I think I'm most debating in my head whether or not I should have just raised the flop, and then if Luddy shoved, called it off. Because I think like the turn play, I should have just checked given stack sizes. And with queen jack, I'm fairly happy with my fold. just because I was pretty aggro in that hand, and my opponent decided to get even more aggro. Did not have the nuts, and when in that type of board texture, when the action starts to get really aggro like that, with the bet call, check raise, shove river. Wow. We're going to have to pretty much bet many, many rivers here, given that I bet the turn and have that draw and so much equity in the pot. There's a lot of... I mean, his range for continuing and my range for barreling, I think, is going to be slightly... My range for barreling like that is going to be slightly stronger than his range for continuing to the river, given pre-flop and flop action. You know, he would have re-raised or raised if he had jacks or kings, raise some point if he has king jack. So I'm going to be tripling that spot decently often. You know, I hope these videos, for those of you who've been watching regularly, have given you guys some food for thought and spots that I choose to bluff that most people might pass up on, just to kind of think about and maybe give you some ideas of your own in spots that you might be able to get some extra money that you wouldn't otherwise be getting. So I don't really like this board for c-betting too often, but because this guy is so loose, I'm gonna put in the bet, and I'm just not gonna put in another bet unless I improve by the river. So I've got the 6 outs. My computer started to get hit with the random slowdown. Jackie Treehorn getting aggro. Alright, last hand, pocket fours. Can we hit a set? Always looking for sets. I'm a set flopping lover. I'm the Romeo of pocket pairs. And flops are my Juliet. Not this one though. This one is getting burned. We're gonna backdoor the straight though. We're gonna get that white squirrel. Ho! Bada bing. Sorry, baby, I didn't mean it. Pocket fives, last one. Are we gonna two-time pocket fours? We're gonna say, nah, I really shouldn't. It's time to go home, make a nice cup of cocoa, Watch some Netflix. Ooh. Ooh, that's rough. That's rough. We gotta go. We gotta go inside. Have a nightcap. Raised by OMG Puffin. I don't know what to make of this. Will he bluff if we call and check? We've got showdown value. Yeah, I mean let's keep him in the mix. Now if he bets the turn, he might bet with a flush draw. He might also raise a flush draw on the flop. So do we call now or do we ship it? I think we just ship it and take the money, and if we have outs if he's ahead of us, and if he has a flush draw, we're obviously ahead. Not too worried about that. Ooh, pocket fours. Pocket fours just slapped us in the face. It's tough to go out like that. She got us. She caught us, boys. We cheated, and she caught us. All right, that's all she wrote. I'm gonna hang my head and walk away. Take a break. I'll see you guys with some more good stuff next week. Toodaloo.